Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and thank you for tuning in today. Today we're talking about should we support Israel from a biblical point of view. Now, this is a great question for many reasons, but the main reason is this conflict that's going on in the Middle East right now between Israel and Iran. And a lot of people I've seen say, okay, let's just support Israel because they're God's chosen people, right? So they're looking at it from a biblical point of view. Now, if you don't know what's going on in the Middle East, I'll give you a quick summary. If you already know, I'll give you a little timestamp up above so you can go ahead and get into the answer of the question, should we support Israel from a biblical point of view? Okay, so what's basically happened in the Middle East is, Iran has their nuclear programs, and they've been thought for a while, people have thought, sorry, I can't speak, that they've been making nuclear weapons and that they're preparing to have one. And now there's a side to it point of view that's saying Iran cannot have nuclear weapons at all. And that was the side that Israel took. And they launched airstrikes, missile strikes onto Iranian nuclear facilities, military targets, trying to destroy their nuclear facilities. They did not destroy it. They did cause some damage, though. So they went back and forth. Iran launching mini missiles at Israeli residential areas. So they were going back and forth for about a week. And then, as you may know, you have Operation Midnight Hammer, such a sick name, by the way, that was an American operation to destroy Iranian nuclear facilities. So they went with their B-2 stealth bombers and dropped what was called bunker busters, which is the biggest non-nuclear weapon that America has, and it goes and it kind of drills itself in the ground, if you will. So it doesn't explode on impact. It drills itself, and it blows up. Okay, and so what they do is they go and they drop one after another, so you can go deeper and deeper and deeper. Right. So if you have one that goes and it goes 100 feet deep, right? You have another one that can go another 100 feet, but that's 200 feet. So they dropped 6 of those bunker busters, at one place called Fordow, which is supposedly Iran's kind of most important nuclear facility. Okay, so they dropped 6 of those, and it's thought to be completely obliterated, and to the point where they can't produce, nuclear weapons at all, because Fordow and other nuclear facilities have been totally destroyed by those bunker busters, along with Tomahawk missiles, which was launched by U.S. submarines around the area. So there's 20 plus of those Tomahawk missiles, along with those 12 bunker busters that were used. So that was used, and then about a day and a half, Iran responded with 12 missiles upon Qatar, a U.S. airbase in Qatar. All of them were shot down. Actually, I think one of them was not shot down, but there was no casualties or anything on the American side, because Iran had warned America and United States military beforehand. It was more of a symbolic launch, if you will. Okay, so that's kind of the little summary. And now there's a ceasefire that's supposedly going on, but apparently that's been broken. Apparently there was an Iranian missile that was fired, just a singular one. After the ceasefire, Israel got mad, launched a whole bunch of them missiles at Iran. So now we're kind of back to the point of them, like 2 7-year-olds fighting each other. So yeah, there's a lot that's happened in the past week. So this is why the question, should we support Israel from a biblical point of view, is all the most important. So let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? So one of the main verses that kind of is on the supporting side of, yes, we should support Israel, is Genesis 12, verse 1. Now, verse 1 to verse 3. Now, there's a little round table, if you will, with Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz about the same topic of, should we support Israel? And Ted Cruz said, yes, from a biblical standpoint, yes, we are to support Israel. And this was the verse he was referring to. Now, he also said, yes, we are to support Israel from a political point of view because they are our closest ally. in the Middle East. But this is the verse that he pointed to, saying that we should indeed always be allies with Israel. Now let's go ahead and read it. Okay, so it's the call of Abram, Genesis 12, verse 1 to 3. Now the Lord said to Abram, go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land I will show you, and I will make you of a great nation. And I will bless you and make your name great, and so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So you see this, you see, okay, God is going to bless Israel. God is going to bless Abram and make his children a nation. That nation is to be Israel. So that's what happens if you read this literally. You think, okay, yes, and we are to bless Israel because it says, I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse. So yes, we are to go, when we are to bless Israel, no matter where it is, because they are Abram's children, right? That God said he was going to make a great nation. But what's important is you need to look at this verse 3, okay? Which says, I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. This is important because it's saying in you, right? So you, Abram, and all your children, right, are to bless the other nations, right? So all the families of the earth shall be blessed, okay? And you, Israel, are blessed from me, but you, Israel, are supposed to go and bless those other nations. So it's not saying, oh, anyone who isn't an Israelite should go and bless Israel because they'll be blessed. No. It's saying, you, Israel, are blessed by me, but you, Israel, are to go and bless other nations, so that all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Because when Israel goes and they go and they bless these other families, they're indirectly getting blessed by God, because Israel is God's chosen people. Right? So you have those three levels of it. You have God, the Israelites, and the family. The families of the earth. Okay? God is blessing Israel. Israel is blessing those families of the earth. But nowhere does it imply, and it doesn't imply at all, that you need to go and bless Israel. No. No. It's not saying that. It's saying, Israel, you are to go and you are to bless those other families. Okay? So, we have that. Okay, now, if you want more support or you're not really quite understanding this, then let's go to Exodus 19:6. Okay. 19:5. Let's go on and read it. Now, therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession among all the people, for all the earth is mine, and you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words that you shall speak to the people of Israel. Okay, so what is happening right here? God is saying, if you are to obey my voice, right? If you are to listen to me, and you are to keep my covenant, right? You will be my treasured possession. But you will become a kingdom of priests, and I highlighted it twice because what do priests do? They go and tend to bless other people, right? They tend to be the highest in the church, right? Go and bless others. Right? So it's saying, Israel, you are to be a kingdom of priests. Which makes sense because you go back to Genesis, you know what it says? All the families of the earth shall be blessed. So God's saying, you are my kingdom of priests. And since you're a priest, and since you are my nation, you are to go and bless others. Right? And so when you keep this covenant and you obey me, you're going to be this treasured possession, and you are to go and you are to bless the other nations, right? Because you are my kingdom of priests. Now, we know that Israel said, nope. They said, nope, not going to listen to you, God. And they went and were not the kingdom priests they should have been. They weren't even priests themselves. They could not even be close to God. They separated themselves from God. They did not obey his voice, nor did they keep his covenant. So then they were exiled, they were destroyed, and they did not become the holy nation they were supposed to be. Now, you say, well, that doesn't make any sense, because in Genesis, it says, I will bless you, Right, and that you will bless all the other nations and all the other families. So now, who is to bless those nations? Right, because Israel is fallen. So who is to bless anyone? Who is to help, and who is to help everyone? Well, I say to you that this Israel right here, yes, it fell, but the true Israel was Jesus. Now let me explain. But let's go to Galatians 3:24. 3:29, excuse me. So it makes a little bit more sense. And if you are Christ, then you are Abram's offspring. Here's according to the promise. Okay, so what it's saying is that if we are in Christ, then we are Abram's offspring. Right? And so let's go back to that promise. It says that Abram, go from your country, right? Your kindred and your father's house to land I will show you. And I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great. Right? So God's saying, I will make your name great through your children. Your children will grow. Your kids will go and make this great nation. Okay, and what was this great nation? Israel. And now we go back to Galatians. It says that we are Abraham's offspring if we are in Christ. So what does that mean? It means that we ourselves are like the Israelites. And now what was the Israelites' main priority? It was to go and to bless others. Right? So what are we called? What are we called to do? Well, we're to go and we are called to bless others. We're to become that like kingdom of kings. Priests. Kingdom of priests. And who is our king? Christ. So we had God, Abraham, Israel. Okay? Now we have God, Christ, us. But they weren't parallel. Right? So this Israel that was described was what they should have done was fulfilled by Christ. Because you see, let's take this, the wilderness. Israel went out and stayed in the wilderness for all those years. What was it? 40 years. Right? Jesus went in and stayed in the wilderness for 40 days, 40 nights. Right? And who fled from God? Who disobeyed God? The Israelites who stayed in the desert for those 40 years. But Jesus went, stayed there those days. Right? And did not disobey God, stayed with God. Right? So Christ is just fulfilling everything that Israel should have been and should have done. He himself is that ultimate priest. Christ is the ultimate priest. You get it now? That, Christ is Israel. And that if we are Christ, right, we're Abram's offspring. So that means we are like the Israelites. And we are a kingdom of priests. We are called to spread the gospel. Okay? And that should be really biggest main priority in life. Right? Be that kingdom of priest and go bless others. Okay? And that's honestly why I made this YouTube channel, is because I thought the best way to spread the gospel and to share my knowledge, and even to help myself in points, was a YouTube channel. I can go ahead and get out and help others online. Now, if you're still confused and say, oh, okay, this doesn't make sense. Christ is not Israel. Well, then, listen to this. Israel was referred to as a vine. Right? God would refer to Israel as a vine. Guess what? Jesus called himself, he said, I am the vine. John 15:1. He said, I am the vine. So right there, Jesus is saying, I am Israel. Right? He is Israel. He is what Israel was supposed to do. So we are not to bless and we are not to follow after the nation of Israel, but instead to follow after Christ. So instead of us being the Israelites, we are people who are in Christ. Right? So instead of Israelites, we are Christ. And in us, we are followers of Christ. Okay? So you're getting that now. Genesis 12, verses 1 to 3 is not talking about the nation of Israel. No. It's talking about us and what we're supposed to do. Now, yes, it has that dual meaning of saying this is what this nation of Israel will do. Right? Like literally, it means Israel will become a kingdom of priests. And that they will go and bless others. But it also has that meaning of we ourselves in this modern day after Christ, we are also supposed to go and bless those families, right? Those families who don't know Christ. Okay? But it does not mean at all that we should go and follow the government or the nation of Israel blindly. Okay? Very important that you know this. Now look at the Romans. Now, there is a part of the truth in part. How do I explain this? While yes, we are not to follow or to bless Israel, just because they're Israel, right, and that they're in the Old Testament, and that they were supposed, or that they are God's chosen people. No. We're to bless Israel like we do all other nations, and it's important to note that they are indeed God's. They were God's people. Okay, so just listen along. Romans 11. Where is it at? Yeah, okay, right here. Sorry. 11:2, which says, God has not rejected his people whom he foreknew. So right here, it's simply just saying, God does not forget about the Israelites. Okay, he knows his chosen people. He's not going to forget about them. Now, hold on to that. Now let's go to verse 11. Verse 12, which says, now, if their trespass means riches for the Lord, and if their failure means riches for the Lord, how much more will the full inclusion mean? So the thing with God is you have, the Israelites and the Jews are always with him, and once Christ comes, they turn away from God, right? They go away, and these Gentiles who never really knew God, they come in, right? So you're kind of swapping them out, right? So you don't have full inclusion yet. Right, because the Jews are away. Now the Gentiles are here. So you don't have full inclusion. But how much more will their full inclusion mean? So once the Jews, and the Gentiles come, how much more would that mean? And what does that mean? What I think it means is that the nation of Israel and that the Israelites and God's chosen people will indeed come to Christ. They will indeed come to Christ. Okay? That's important to know. Now, there is different points of views on what that verse means, but I think that's what the verse means, myself. Now, let's skip ahead. Actually, we'll just go from verse 17. But if some of the branches were broken off, and you, although a wild olive shoot, were grafted in among the others, and now share in the nourishing root of the olive tree, do not be arrogant towards the branches. Okay, let's see what this... So we can see right here, right, olive trees, what they are. Okay, so what's interesting is, God, Jesus himself calls himself a vine, right? That kind of hangs off that, olive tree, right? So Christ is so amazing with his words. He's just so amazing. So it's saying, if God was this tree and the Jews were the branches, right? And they fall off, okay, but these raw branches kind of weave themselves in, right? And it's saying, Paul is saying, do not be arrogant towards the branches that fell. Right? So that's saying, that's like us right here, just being a tree. You have the Jews. Okay? And when Christ comes, they kind of fall off. But us, we kind of wave ourselves in because of Christ. It's saying, do not be arrogant and not talk down to those Jews. Right? So it's important to know that we are not supposed to go and be like, oh, you failed God because you turned away from God. And so Israel will never support you. No. It's not saying that. We are not to be arrogant. We're not to be arrogant or rude or whatever it may be to those Jews. We are to go. We're to spread the gospel of Christ. That's what we're supposed to do. Okay, now. And honestly, the biggest thing in life is, what would Jesus do? If you can remember, if you ask yourself that question, you will have a lot more understanding. Okay, that's just a random thought I throw out there, but it kind of applies to this. Would Jesus be arrogant towards other branches, especially those branches were God's chosen people? No, he would not be. Okay, let's wrap it up with Romans 11:23. which says, and even they, if they do not continue in their unbelief, will be grafted in. For God has the power to graft them in again. For if you were cut from what is by nature a wild olive tree, and grafted contrary to nature and a cultivated olive tree, how much more would these, the natural branches, be grafted back into their own olive tree? It is saying that Israel will be waved back into God's presence. Once again, I'm going to do it again. Wild olive tree. The tree is God. They fall off. Right? The branches fall off. They are replaced. And now this is a cultivated tree. But those branches that fall off, those Jews, they are to be waved back in. Right? Because frankly, they were here first and they were God's chosen people. And we know that God does not forget his own people. So it's important to note that while yes, we are not to support and bless Israel blindly, the nation of Israel blind, we are to know that they are children of God, and they were God's chosen people, and so we are supposed to love them. We are supposed to spread this gospel, right? And we should know that they are to be way back in, right? God knows his people. He knows Israel. He says they will be way back in. Yes, they've fallen off the olive tree, but they will be way back in. Okay. So, to conclude, right? If anyone comes and says, yes, we need to support Israel, no matter what, and they give a verse like this, or they give any other verse, then they are wrong. I'm not going to, let me phrase that. They're, from a biblical point of view, not right. We are not supposed to just support Israel blindly. We're not supposed to support the government of Israel blindly. No. But we are here to go and bless the people of Israel. Okay? Because they will be way back in. They are still God's people. Okay? And remember that in that parallel we have, right? And you think in Genesis 12, you think you have God, Israel, Israelites. But with Christ, we have God, Christ, us, right? Christ is what Israel should have been. And we still have God at the top. And I'm not saying Christ is lower than God, right? Because Christ is God. But I'm just doing it for viewing sake, right? God, Israel, Christ, Israelites, us. Right? We are Abraham's offspring when he is talking that we are to be priests and that we are to bless the other families. He is talking to us directly. He's saying that if you are in Christ, then I am talking to you. I am talking to you because you are my offspring. Okay? And that we are a great nation. Okay? And so I just want to thank, as I'm wrapping this up, thank the Wise Disciple. I took a lot of inspiration from his video. I'm going to link it down below. A lot of the verses and such were from his video. I can put my own spin on it. Now, this is a very complicated topic. I tell you to research this topic for yourself, pray about it, meditate about it. But I hope I was able to give you some kind of insight about this topic, about this question. That's what he's been asked a lot. Just because of the conflicts in the Middle East. And it's a great reminder that we are to pray for all people. We are to pray for peace. I was reading in Psalms the other day that God can see his wars. He has that power. We have to understand. We can't fully understand his power. There's just some hard limit in the brain where you cannot understand the power of such a God. But we must know that he has the power to stop a war. Right? He has the power to do whatever. Okay? Remember, pray and pray earnestly. Love you guys. Have a great day.